Welcome to the Clinical Research Podcast, bringing you the latest developments in research explained by our world-leading clinicians, academics and scientists based in Nottingham. In this episode, Ash Rolfe from the Research and Innovation Communications team talks to Divisional Lead Research Nurse Nicola Hall about today's Red4Research campaign.
Staff, patients and just about anyone else who wants to at Nottingham University Hospital's NHS Trust will be wearing red today. They're joining thousands of people across the world showing their support for the huge international research effort which brought us vaccines and treatment for COVID-19 so quickly. It's the second year that June 18th has been marked as Red4Research Day, and Divisional Lead Research Nurse Nicola Hall told me about why red is such an important colour for researchers at the hospital.
So it gives that initial impact for the wards, for the patients, for the participants, our volunteers. It shows that distinct uniform of this is the clinical trials research workforce at NUH. It identifies us as a collective workforce across the divisions. As we've got 6 divisions, it's a huge area to cover. So if somebody in one of our workforce, it could be a research nurse, a practitioner, a healthcare assistant, an allied healthcare professional that could come in, that wearing the Red4Research uniform, and then you will see that, oh yes, we've got research going on in this ward. We might have a research patient for you, or it might remind the doctor to think, oh yes, on the ward round I need to think what research this patient could come into. It gives that immediate distinctive awareness to wherever that person is going, which is absolutely fantastic. It also gives patients and participants a clear picture of who these staff are, and they're used to seeing, a sister's uniform or a doctor's uniform, but then they're seeing this research, this red uniform, so it outlines the other activities that are going on within the trust.
What do you think about other people, external to the trust, internal to the trust, who aren't necessarily anything to do with research, wearing red for Research Day?
I think it's great. I think it highlights that we have a workforce that not everybody is aware of. That we do a huge amount of clinical trials at NUH, that's the benefits of the patients. So if there's more people wearing red to show that there is this clinical trials research workforce, it shows unity in the awareness of who these people are and what we can offer.
And do you think that the red uniform is recognised across NUH? Would you say if somebody saw in a corridor the red uniform, they would immediately think that's research?
I think it does. There are pockets of areas that are specialised so they don't wear the Red4Research uniform. And then sometimes the phlebotomists are in the red as well, but this is a very distinctive tunic. You can see it is different from the phlebotomist. So it does, I think, for the most identify. We do need to continue to raise that awareness a bit more, though, out there. And we've got, pictures around, we've got posters around, so it does actually show that these are clinical trials research staff.
Why do you feel it's important that we raise awareness about clinical research through initiatives like Red4Research? Not
everybody knows that clinical trials are going on within the trust or nationally. And these clinical research trials, they empower patients to potentially improve their care, improve the care of the families, the future generations. It gives them that understanding and empowerment to change lives, which is absolutely fantastic. It also raises awareness for the staff that actually you may not want to work on a ward anymore or a department, so actually let's go into research. The majority of our staff have some form of qualification or professional development where research is involved, and they might find that's really interesting and want to move into clinical trials to develop that more, to help improve patient care. Everything we use every day has been tested through clinical trials, whether it's a thermometer or a medicines or a medical device of some sort. So, by raising that awareness, people will understand how we come to use those pieces of equipment or treatment.
From your experience and as a research nurse, has there ever been a clinical trial that's made a real difference to a patient, a group of patients or staff that you can remember?
I think I can think of 2 that jump out of me. One was Parkinson's studies that I worked on. So we were looking at different medications that would help reduce some of the tremors in the Parkinson's patients. And the medications that were being used and tested actually had a really good outcome. Not only did it reduce the tremors, it gave them the ability to actually go out a little bit more and be more social. Participants would feed back that they felt isolated because of their tremors, they couldn't go out, or people would stare at them. So by being on these medications, these trial medications, it improved their whole life, not just the symptoms. The other one I can think of was actually in children's, where we were using a device for diabetes. It had been trialled and tested in adults and proved to work. And the particular consultant had children and parents banging on the door for this to be, trialled in children, and it was. And it's a great success, and it's now used everywhere, which is absolutely fantastic. So it's improved lives.
And so do you see this as like a sort of an emotional connection? So do you know when you see something like the Parkinson's study that you just mentioned in the children's study, when you see that, does it really give you a sense of achievement and proud to see that?
Massively. And actually sometimes I see adverts on the device that we use in children's, and I sit there and think, yeah, we worked on that one. It's absolutely fantastic. And I always tell my husband and my son that, this is a trial that we worked on. And it gives me goosebumps. I've got goosebumps coming now thinking about it. And I can still visually see some of the participants for the Parkinson's study and seeing the smile on their face gradually, month after month, as I went back and did the investigations on them to see them improving. And you'd see them coming in wheelchairs, and eventually they would be walking out, almost a different person. It's fantastic.
If you could say one thing to encourage more staff to get involved in research, so somebody on a ward that doesn't really know a lot about research and they may be interested when somebody talks about it, what would you say to them? What words of encouragement would you give to staff?
Don't be shy, come and see us. We've got a great web page. You can access us through Twitter. You can access us on the internet. We do insight visit days. Pre-COVID, we started to do quite a few insight visit days where they'd come for half a day or a whole day, see what we do. And they'll understand it's not just research, it's clinical trials, it's not just medicines, it's actually devices or nutrition or ways of living or treatment plans. It completely changes the perspective of how people understand research. It's not just collecting data. Yes, it's a massive part of it, but actually it completely transforms patients' lives. They go from being quite dependent on others or the health system or doctors or physios or nurses to actually becoming empowered and then getting these treatments, whatever they may be, whether it's drugs or devices or pathways of understanding and learning their healthcare, and they start holding their head up proud, and they start walking out with an understanding of how to look after themselves. So if people are interested in finding out more, then just contact us. Come for a visit, ask us more questions.
Have you got any clinical trials that you are, from other divisions that you work with, which you're really excited about that's currently happening?
There's hundreds, don't get me wrong, they're all so valuable, but the biggest one is the vaccine study that we're doing at the minute with my colleagues, finding another vaccine that could potentially help with COVID. So that's the one that we've all been really excited about. It's also been the one where we've used the dogs, the canine study, to detect COVID through socks. People laugh at that one when you talk about it, but actually it's been fantastic because dogs have been used for years to detect scents, and they've got a hypersensitive sense of smell. So that's been an absolutely fantastic trial. I know that we've all enjoyed that one. But there's lots, we've got them across the whole of our divisions, wherever they are, and the oncology ones, the surgical ones, the medical ones, respiratory ones have been quite important as well, because obviously COVID affects the respiratory more than anything else. So we've got a whole host. I can't really put my finger on any one that's been more exciting, because they're all exciting. They all affect patients. They all increase their health and well-being, which is what our aim is, to increase the health and well-being of the nation.
Research is a really exciting place at the minute, and it's only going to go up from here.
Absolutely. Clinical trials, it may not have an instant solution, it may not have the right answer. Sometimes it will be ruling out some of these medicines or ruling out some of these medical devices, but that's what's going to be right for the patient. So clinical trials is essential. We wouldn't be where we are in the NHS now or in the 21st century without having clinical trials.
We just want to say thanks so much for joining on the podcast this week, Nicola.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to our workforce. Our workforce is tremendous. It's full of so many professionals that have the knowledge to drive this forward. They've all worked incredibly hard through this challenging period, and without them we wouldn't be who we are today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening. There are links in the show notes for more information on clinical research in Nottingham, and the website is nuh.nhs.uk/research. Our email and social media links are there too. If you want to stay up to date with the Clinical Research Podcast, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Google, wherever you normally get your podcasts. The more shows are rated and reviewed, the more search engines like them, and the easier it is for people to find us. So if you can subscribe and rate and review us, you'll be doing it for science, not just for our egos.